First I start with 350 grams of my starter. I fed it last night, so it's super active.
Guys, refer to the video that I'll put the card on here on how to make the starter for that, okay? It's very easy.
And then I use 70% hydration, so I'm gonna put 700 grams of water here, right? So I know that's not actually 70% when you take into account everything else I put in here, but that's how I remember it. 700 grams of water.
Is the water, what temperature is your water?
It's under 110, above 100 degrees.
Okay.
So lukewarm.
Okay.
I've tried with other hydrations with more or less. I found that 700 grams is kind of that sweet spot where you get really, really nice bread, but it actually stays where you need it to go. So once I do that, first I'd like to incorporate the starter. That kind of removes it, sticks a little bit to the bottom, but perfect. Now I leave it like that for about 5 minutes, just let it rest. All right, so it's about 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be really, you're not really waiting for it to ferment. I just kind of let it sit there for a little bit. I'm gonna use another 700 grams of bread flour, 300 grams of whole wheat, just to kind of mix it in there. And then this will give me 2 full loaves. So I do about 10 grams of salt per loaf, so about 20 grams for this entire piece. So I start pouring all this stuff in here.
If you can't find bread flour, I make this bread all the time on the island with regular flour, so don't stress about that, okay? Your bread's still gonna come out perfect.
All right, so now I'm gonna put 300 grams of whole wheat flour. So again, that's roughly, whatever flour you guys end up using. I wouldn't use all whole wheat because it doesn't really,
yeah, it absorbs too much liquid.
It absorbs too much liquid, it becomes too cakey. But I do 1,000 grams of flour, whatever you guys end up using. 700 grams of water and 350 grams of starter. Oh, and my salt. Remember the salt? It makes a huge difference, and it's always the ingredient that everybody forgets.
Yes, I have forgotten in the past, and it does make a huge difference.
So again, 20 grams for 2 loaves, so 10 grams per loaf. And just to remember the math easily, I always just think about it in percentages. So, 1 kilogram of flour, 2% salt, 35% starter, and then 70% water for the hydration. And then this part is one of the best parts. Start mixing it. I try to get the flours mixed in together a little bit, even though we're gonna do so many stretch and folds that everything does still incorporate and gets really nice. So not super necessary. And I just go here in circles, make sure that you don't have any dry flour in the bottom. And just get in there. See, there's still a lot of water in the bottom, so I like to incorporate really nicely like this. Just bring it to the top, squeeze it down, bring it to the top, squeeze it down, and over again. It's super, super sticky. But this is roughly what I look for in terms of the, how much water goes in there. Again, depending on how much your proportion is of whole wheat versus white flour. This can vary a little bit. If it's a little too hard, add a little bit of water to it. If it's too soft, add a little flour to it. But, normally that gets you to about this here. I just scoop it off my hands like this. A little trick that I've noticed, if you just wet your hands a little bit, I don't know why this works, but just do this, it starts actually just sticking to the dough. And I add, every time I do a stretch and fold, I do add some water to my hands so that it doesn't stick in there. So I don't know how much additional water that puts in there, but that's okay. Just additional hydration, but it makes life a lot easier because you can get most of this stuff off of your hands. So, okay. Now, what I do is I set 5 timers with 30-minute intervals. And every time it rings, I go ahead and I do 5 stretch and folds before I let it bulk ferment after that for a couple hours, really, depending on the temperature. Sometimes it does it fast, but really until it not quite doubles in size, but gets significantly, probably 50% bigger before I shape it and put it in the bread mold. So, all right, we'll start again in 30 minutes.
Just cover it, guys, and leave it alone. And we'll see you in 30 minutes.
All right, so it's been 30 minutes. By the way, we didn't show you this last time, but I bought some shower caps on Amazon, and they work great to cover my my dough. So this is what I do. Very simple. I get my hands really wet. This prevents them from sticking, and it just helps me actually do the pull and folds. The idea is that the dough doesn't break. You'll see how it evolves every 30 minutes. So let's get to that point. What's happening here is you're developing the gluten as you're going through this. It also helps kind of further mix all the ingredients, as I mentioned before. So you'll start, as you go through this, it starts getting more and more malleable and workable. That's the gluten essentially developing. So that's after one stretch and fold. And then we'll come back here shortly in about 30 minutes. Continue.
Yeah, we'll cover it again.
All right, this is fold number 2. You can start seeing how the dough starts getting a little bit smoother. See, it rips less than number 1. I like to lift it all the way up. See, it's a lot less sticky. All right. Do it again in 30 minutes.
Mika, say hi. That is Mika. Hi, say.
So now it's time to shape it. So it's fermented some. You can see some bubbles, but it's not quite ready yet. I like to shape it and then let it finish fermenting on the in the molds. I actually use a lot of flour for fermenting. Some people don't. I like that it just sticks less and just allows me to make it a little bit more manual, and cannelling doesn't really change the texture of the bread too much. So I just dump it. Again, remember that these are too low, so you can start seeing some of the fermentation there, those bubbles. There, comes out clean. So what I try to do is just eye it, roughly cut about half of it off. Never really get it exactly.
Yeah, if you want them exactly, you have to weigh them after you cut them, yeah.
But, eyeing them works. So the idea is to create tension on the outside. So, without really bursting any of the bubbles, or try not to burst any of the bubbles, I stretch it out like this and just simply fold it into itself like this. And then just get it there. And then this step is just kind of fun to do, but what you're trying to do is get tension on the outside. That'll actually form your crust. And then as it actually starts, growing, it gets better. Also, the bottom is still not together, not a big deal. But because that'll actually kind of grow, and then when you bake it, it just doesn't make any difference. So I just kind of play with it there, grab a little bit more tension, putting it like that, and then just drop it into my mold.
Show us the mold. Yeah, okay, there it is. We got it.
Into my mold. So then on to the next one. Again, plenty of flour there. It's not really sticky, but it's a little sticky, but it doesn't really quite stick to my hands. Open it up. You can just use your hands too. I mean, that's just as good. I like my little tool because it kind of gives you the way to do that. Sometimes if you do this too much, you'll actually start seeing the bubbles come up. So, try not to do that and wait for, I don't know, depending on when I feel that they're at the right level. If you put it in the fridge, I like to wait overnight. It actually does grab a better taste if you let that. If you leave it outside, it's normally ready within a couple of hours. Be really careful to not overproof it. Overproofing it will kill the rise. Still tastes good, but
how do you know when it's overproofed?
So normally I just let it probably grow another 50% from here, and then I put it back. You know, there is the the test. You poke it, and if it comes back slowly, right? So that's not really proved yet. It's pretty elastic. If it comes back a little bit slower, it's really by feel. And you'll screw it up a couple of times, but then you start kind of getting it, and it just starts feeling better. All right, so it's been about 2 to 3 hours, roughly. I preheated the oven to about 450 degrees. So taking them out, as you can see, they've grown, I don't know, roughly double in size, a little less than double, but they've grown a fair amount. So now I'm gonna score them. There's multiple ways of scoring them. I just like a line down the middle. You can get artistic and do little flowers, but let's just do a line down the middle for now. If you were to leave this overnight in the refrigerator, actually the scoring works a lot better. The crust it's kind of hard, so you can actually go a little bit deeper into it, so it gets really clean. And to bake it now, I actually set 2 timers. I set one for 30 minutes and one for 45. And what that allows me to do is just throw it in the oven now, let it rise for about 30 minutes, and then I spray a ton of water for the last 15 minutes and just put it in there. So we'll put some water just to get it a little more humid in there.
Spraying water in the oven.
And that's it. I'll come back to it in 30 minutes and then spray more water, and then in 45 minutes it's done. All right, it's been 30 minutes since we put them in. So let's see how they're rising. Yeah, ooh, these are looking great.
Ooh.
So let's go ahead and put them back in. Again, I have this little sprayer. Whatever you have, you want to put a pan full of water in there, that's fine. I like to put a bunch of liquid in there. To a certain extent, the more you put on there, the better the crust comes out. This is what actually hardens the crust. And then that's it. Leave it for another 15 minutes, and at that point, we're ready to go.
Look at that.
All right,
beautiful.
so 15 minutes later, as mentioned, you can hear the hollow inside, you can hear the crust. It's getting a little bit moisture, but at this point, it's pretty hard. So I do put them in a cooling rack for a little bit. Very hot. And I do just let them sit there. I'll cover them with a little towel overnight just to let them cool down. And then they're ready to slice for tomorrow morning, and you can eat them. Or if you want to eat them tonight, just give it about 20-30 minutes to cool down a little bit before you cut into it, and then we're done.
But the longer they wait for them to cool down, the better.
Yes.
Because otherwise it gets kind of mushy in the middle,
Yes.
right?
But if
Yeah.
you can't wait, eat it. They're delicious.
Thank you, Jamil. We'll slice these tomorrow morning, guys. Ah, delicious. Look at that bread. It's beautiful. And it wasn't hard at all. You can make this at home, no problem.
All right, so moment of truth. We baked these last night, so they've been sitting here already, fully cooled down. So you can start cutting into them to see your crumb. So nice, some airy, some nice stuff in there. So these are perfect, and you can make them in a Dutch oven. I really have started making them in a loaf pan. They're easier, just better form, easier to make sandwiches. So that's been working better for us. I bake a couple a week. I'll cut them. I'll actually put them in a Ziploc and then put them in the freezer. And then you just put it in a toaster oven and unfreeze them, and they're perfect for months. So hopefully this goes well and you enjoy your bread.
Is it soft?
It's super soft, yeah.
Look at that, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Perfect. Look at the crust is great. The crumb is super tasty.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for making bread for us. Guys, enjoy that bread.